Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satan and Coffee, the first episode of Satan and Coffee for today, where there's going to be two episodes of Satan and Coffee today. Today, this morning, right now, I am joined by Curtis Joseph and Hearse, aka the Altar of Darkness. It's always interesting to me to refer to another person as an object. So that's you, Hearse, your underscore name being Altar of Darkness. Like, he is the physical embodiment of the Altar of Darkness. So that's always interesting. And today we are going to be talking about animal sacrifice. Now, for those that are wondering, I know that I talked a couple of weeks ago and saying that this conversation was going to be had with J.S. Garrett because, Garrett does, disagree kind of like with, a bit of my standpoint on things, and, having somebody that, has kind of like that mindset of, just doing it as a regular aspect of their practice, having that conversation I thought would be very interesting. He had agreed in the comments section. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, he was unable to get back to me via email. And so instead of holding off on the topic, I reached out to Hearse and Curtis Joseph, and Curtis is, known for having practiced, here and there, animal sacrifice. So therefore, we're going to have that, that context of when it's okay, why it's okay, in certain contexts and things like that. Now, to set the precipice here, to set the kind of like the tone of why this conversation is happening, it's important to understand my standpoint on animal sacrifice, and something that people have, taken, as in the context that I presented it. I can't say that they took it out of context, because I very intentionally uploaded a video to piss people off, to get a reaction, and it did just what I wanted it to do, which was entertaining to watch, to say the least. Some of the people that came into that reaction, I wasn't expecting those particular people. I also wasn't expecting to be like invited into a curse war, which in my personal opinion is like one of the most childish fucking things I've ever heard in my life, and comes across as somebody acting like a goddamn Power Ranger, right? Like, it's morphin' time. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Anyway, my point of view, my perspective on this is I do stand by the comment that I made, that if most people, most modern occultists that do not have lineage, that do not understand what it is they're doing, that do not understand the cost, weight, and importance that go into animal sacrifice and what it is, and use it as some edgelord fucking bullshit to scare the shit out of people or shock people online, yes, I will stand by what I said. You are a piece of shit. And I will repeat that until the day that I die. If that is your perspective and your point on animal sacrifice, for me, you are a piece of shit. I live in Mexico, for those that don't know. I've seen, I've been here for 17 years. I've seen multiple times and been involved in multiple, rituals within Santeria. And, I have seen, the ofrenda, the ofrenda de pollo, and which is funny because in Spanish, it's not sacrifice, it's offering. Ofrenda de pollo is like, it's an offering of chicken, an offering of blood, ofrenda de sangre. And so even in Spanish, like it's treated differently than it is in modern language. But I've seen it firsthand. Do I agree with it at that point? No, I still don't agree with it, but do I respect it? Yes, I do. And the reason I respect it is because there is lineage, there is background, there is history. Like Santeria, we're talking hundreds of years of practice, right? We're talking about practices that are passed down from generation to generation. There is a place here in the city that I live in called Los Cuatro Esquinas, the four corners, right? Like the crossroads. And it's literally four corners, and there are 3 esoteric Santeria shops, and then one chicken butcher. You do the math. On these 4 corners. And so Yeah, that's the conversation we're going to be having today. Is it going to stay on that? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So normally, so that's my position. So let's get Hearst's position. Hearst, what is your position on animal sacrifice?
Made me go second. Thank you, sir. There's a place and a purpose. You know, if a deity calls for it, yes. If a person's been cursed by an animal with an animal sacrifice and you got to reverse that curse with an animal sacrifice, yes. It's part of your heritage and you've gone through the lineage, the teachings, the time and the effort to learn why you cut and why you do it, yes. To do a shock and all to make people look at you, to make you look like you're Superman of the fucking occult, no. You know, so many people want to literally go, let's do an animal sacrifice to be seen. Or they go, I have to do an animal sacrifice to get a connection with Belial or a deity or whatever you want to say you work with. If that's the only way you can get a connection is by slicing an animal's throat, then you're weak because magic comes from within. And you have to take time to learn why you do this. You know, the blood of an animal, you know, in dark magic, what is that? Cleansing, what is that? Reversing, what is that? Offering, what is that? A place, and it's a place of atonement. You know, it's a safe place. So that's my thoughts a little bit. I'm going to pass it over to Curtis, and we're all going to be jumping around here.
100%. Right. Go ahead, Curtis. What are your thoughts, man? How do you view it?
Well, I mean, yeah, there is a place. I have to respect it. This is not something that I can involve myself in. Have I been involved? Yes. Through the toad ritual. Through the toad rite. It's something that I've learned. It's something I understand the science to. Blood in and of itself. You see, now within the modern left-hand path, there are some people that teach blood as our own being the most potent offering. Sacrifice is not just about the blood, though. This is the thing. The blood is the gateway. The blood is the gate. The blood of Christ, when it was shed, is what opened the gate for his descent into hell before he ascended into the hell realms, right? We're using myth as an example.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever seen videos of spirit leaving the body, there's a ironic Christian music playing in this one video of a mouse that they caught on camera going into a mouse trap. And, you know, within this song, you're praising Jesus Christ. And then this mouse walks into the mouse trap, gets hit, and you watch the spirit, the etheric body of the mouse leave the body on this old camera. But that aether, that life force energy, that bioelectricity that is consciousness is something that is divinely given. That is life that you should respect. If you want to live your own life and enrich your life through the past experience that you have and achieve good karma through the process, you have to remember the law of Cain, which is you reap what you sow. Cain isn't just the first cutter, the first killer, he's the first tiller. This is the law of cause and effect. And it's at the nucleus of all magic. When you're doing animal sacrifice and you don't have the knowledge and wisdom of what you're doing, the scientific nature of it, and then the art of it, the tradition, the lineage, like you guys mentioned, that backs it up, that's a part of it. But then there's also the science. Understanding what the gateway is, the difference between the gateway and the prima materia that's being used to materialize the force being conjured and worked with, and understanding that that also is the material that's being used to bring the desire into manifestation within the world. It weaves the threads through the fates. And this is science as much as it is art. And it can't be just carelessly thrown into a fire. There's ways of discarding the offering. There's ways of using the skin for talisman, using the bones in divination, creating magical fetishes, permanent gateways and doorways within this world to help access higher realms of intelligence. And when it is profaned, here's the ironic part. Most of these people are the same people that will whine about cultural misappropriation, but then they misappropriate something as sacred as animal sacrifice. There's a time and a place. And the way I see it promoted these days, it's not the time, it's not the place. And people, they are creating. It's just, it is what it is. It's corruption.
I completely, yeah, I completely agree. Like, well, my first understanding of the concept of what you're talking about. So I keep talking about this, and you know, I will continue to talk about some. My grandmother, my grandmother, my mother's side is Native American. And you know, she used to always talk about kind of like the idea, the concept of, you know, giving thanks to the animal before you eat dinner, not God. And my grandmother, before she was diagnosed with dementia, was considered a tribal elder, right? So, like, she was very important in the Mohawk community in upstate New York. You know, prior to that diagnosis, you know, she's still with us, but you know, her mind is letting go, which is sad to see. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I still would have liked to learn from her that, you know, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to, because sometimes she barely remembers who her husband is. And so, you know, but that was like kind of where like I was kind of presented with that concept, that idea at the beginning. And she used to, like, even though she didn't need it, like she still would use everything from the animals, because I come from a hunting family. So during deer season, you know, we usually bagged enough venison to last most of the year through. You know, it's, I mean, I shot my first one at like 7-8 years old. And I've been shooting since I was 7. And, you know, I learned to clean a deer, you know, probably at like 9-10. You know, so I know how to do all of that, how to make jerky out of it, you know, freeze dry, like all of that stuff. And the thing is all of it is used, like all of it, every aspect of that, and none of that goes to waste. And even if we didn't use it, like what was left of the carcass would go to the tribe and they would use it. They would find usages for it, you know, so nothing got wasted. At any point did anything get wasted. And so, like, I've always been, you know, into that concept. Now, in modernity, and depending on where you're living, so for example, I live in Mexico right now, right? Hunting really isn't a big thing here in Mexico, and having a firearm of any kind is usually illegal without very stringent permissions that are required, and you need to be a citizen, to which I am not. Yeah, I'm only a permanent resident. So, you know, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop eating meat, because, and there's a point to this, right? So I'm not going to stop eating meat just because I can't go hunting, right? Like, I'm going to enjoy me a good steak, a good burger, some chicken, whatever, right? And I'm a little irritated with the comment or the idea that if you don't agree with animal sacrifice outside of, you know, the proper lineages and connections and the things that I believe are necessary to, like you said, Curtis, to have the license to do it, you know, through the powers beyond yourself. People immediately, like, their first question is, do you eat meat or are you a vegan? It's like, dude, me buying a fucking burger is not the same thing, you know, is chopping a chicken's head off on a chopping block because I want to use its blood on my altar. Like, it's not the same fucking thing, bro. Like, you know, I'm sorry, you know, it's not. And, you know, in my understanding, and maybe Curtis, you can correct me here because I feel like you have more experience with this, And my understanding, because of the energy that you're putting through, depending on what it is that you're doing with that animal sacrifice, it's not necessarily pertinent or a good idea for you as the practitioner to eat that meat. Like, you giving it to another animal that eats the meat, that's fine. But you as the practitioner channeling that energy into that being, like you yourself eating it,
Right.
is probably not the best idea.
It depends on context. It does depend on context, but here's the thing. When it comes to working with specific forces, you're right. Like, it's not yours to eat. There's other uses for the flesh. Especially for rites of baneful operations. Like, a lot of these people they're selling these days, you definitely don't want to eat that.
Right.
Because that, is there certain context? It depends. So the inverse science of it all, you can invert it. You can take it to some dark places. You can. Like, to consume baneful flesh, would you do it in a vampiric predatory context? Yeah, you can. But there's also certain people, certain forces that you just can't cross like that, man, because there is a real predatory food chain. It's a little different than shape-shifting. It's a little different than being a berserker when you're the actual spirit of the wolf or the bear, rather. You know what I'm saying? It's different, dude. When you're the primordial force and we're talking about predatory spirituality, it's different. So you can express that through ritual, but there's still possible consequences, and you can FAFO, bro, and find out. You can FAFO. You can find out the hard way. And that's what I will say in regard to that. So it can be done, but there's still laws in place, laws of nature that are not corrupt by human hubris and the misappropriation of the symbol and power that is the bear, the true berserker, the true shifter. So yeah, we'll say it that way. Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Like, I mean, even in Santeria, like, the stuff, I mean, they have things that they do after the fact anyway, know, with the chicken, but like with what I've seen done in Santeria, like, I mean, I wouldn't fucking, throw that chicken in my oven. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, and see, here's the thing, because of the energy behind it, because we could look into that area and the criminal aspects of those sorts of cults. The ones the sort of operations that do involve very dark stuff, dude. Because there's some little kids that'll cross the border to go drink in Mexico and never come back because they stay too late. You don't want to let the sun set.
Yep.
And stay there. Trust me. Go home. Because
and
there's
for
dark stuff.
Yeah, and for context. For context on that, as someone that has lived in Mexico for 17 years, Curtis is not wrong. Those people up in the States, so I'm just going to say it as the Mexicans say it, los pinches pochos. So, like, if you're wondering what a pocho is, I mean, look it up. But, like, those that know, they know. So, los pinches pochos that sit there and say that, oh, yeah, Mexico this, Mexico that, Mexico's, like, awesome place to live and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, like, culturally speaking, there's a lot of stuff here that I respect, but it is a dangerous country to live in, and is something that you should not ever forget if you ever come to visit. Doesn't matter where you go. The Mexican people are a people that are oppressed not only by their own government, their police, but also the cartels. And it is a people that live in fear constantly. And I know this because I know hundreds of Mexicans, not a couple, not a few, hundreds. Over 17 years of living here, hundreds upon hundreds of Mexicans I have met, an incountable amount of people that I've spoken to about this stuff. And I have gotten direct feedback from the people that live, work, and raise their families in this country. And so anyone that comes at me or comes out and says something different, you have never lived here and you are full of shit. Like, and I'm not saying that I don't like the place or anything like that. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I respect and I enjoy about here, you know, and what I say comes from a place of love because, you know, I've spent half of my life in this fucking country, and, you know, yo lo veo con mis propios ojos. Like, lo que pasa aquí. So, yeah. So Curtis is 100% correct. Unfortunately, kids go into Tijuana to have, like, you know, a fun time in Mexico and just never go home.
Yeah, man. You know what I mean? You got to be, and understand these cultures too. They are going to protect their lineage. This is another thing, man. Like, all these people getting paid to go over to Africa to become voodoo san. All these people going into Brazil to become initiated into Kimbanda or Umbanda. We have to remember, man, that these people a lot of times aren't really handing you over the lineage. They're making you money. And if they want to, you'll be the offering. If they want. Go ahead and be the wrong kind of person. Go ahead, be the wrong kind of person, dude.
Exactly.
You know?
Hearst, what are your thoughts, man?
Their paycheck.
You see me thinking, don't you?
I do. I do see you thinking.
See, another thing I want to bring up about this, a lot of people don't talk about with the sacrifice of animals, is the energy that's behind it. Yeah. And a lot of people get, I don't want to say use the word wrong, but possessed with that energy of that feeling, and it goes through their life. So then they become angry people, abusive to their spouses, addiction, more dark, depression. You know, there's more to this than just slicing an animal's throat and putting on the altar. You have to look at the energy behind it and what comes through it. And when you're opening up those gateways and those portals, you're doing a direct connection with some very dark shit. And so many people do not put up the protections for their family, for their neighbors, for their followers or whatever. It just runs rampant. So even if you're protected as the practitioner, what happens to that person that just paid you that ain't protected? And it goes to them, it goes to their family, and it starts going down to them. And then all of a sudden they end up killing somebody because of that anger or because of that deity taking possession of that person. Talked about, and that needs to be talked about.
I think that connects to kind of like the lineage aspect of it. So here's the thing. So to kind of break this down, right? So when I say lineage, so everybody understands, because I want to talk definitions, right? Definitions are important for everybody to understand what's being talked about. So when I talk about lineage, so lineage defined, cultural continuity, right? So the continuity throughout the culture and how that's like brought forth generation to generation. Instruction from elders, like having people that have, you know, worked through this, much like what Curtis was talking about, and who trained him in what it is that he was doing. You know, that is instruction from elders, someone that like has had this passed down to them before you were even an itch in your dad's ball sack, you know, like that have like those types of people instruct you in what you're doing, the rules, the limits, the prohibitions, and the consequences of misuse, and understanding the guardrails that need to be put in place when you're doing this. All of this stuff comes from lineage. Right? You can't read a book written by someone that's never done this shit and then think that you have the know-how to go in and do it yourself, because not only you're going to fuck yourself up, but you're going to fuck everybody else up around you. And again, this goes down to people that I think that, you know, the actual true fucking occult edgelords, man. Like, I mean, there's this guy I was talking about, like, on Instagram not that long ago, that showed a picture of a goat that he bought, and then the next picture he showed was like his ritual space covered in blood. It's like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, why would you show that? That's fucking stupid, right? Or like, then, like, more recently, he shows a picture on his reels of him holding a duck by the throat, you know, like, you know, saying like, oh, look what I'm going to do. It's like, motherfucker, like seriously, like, you think that makes you a fucking bat? Like, honestly, like, oh, it just pisses me off. And it's not even just for like the animal's sake. That's part of it. But the other part of it is just the absolute repulsive disrespect of something so
Right.
historically
Okay, that's
powerful,
right.
and life in and of itself, that it's just those are the people that are those that to me that's the definition of a piece of shit, man. You
Yeah, can
know?
I interject here
Yes, go for it.
just for a moment? See, these animals, and I want everybody to understand this, they're emissaries of the gods. See, I teach my students to spend a lot of time in nature because we rely on the relationship with elemental energies, right? But also because when you conjure the spirits in nature, the elemental gates will bring forth animals that are sacred to the spirits. As an example, when JS and I did an evocation that is actually on video, I was contacting a specific being, Astaroth. We called upon Astaroth while I was there. And Astaroth stated, I want to look into your eyes through the face of Inanna. So I banished the demon Astaroth and I called upon Inanna. The fire rose. No fuel was added. The fire rose to 6 foot tall and it stayed that way throughout the evocation. A screech owl manifests behind us. The screech owl is sacred to Inanna. The animals are holy emissaries of the gods. When we are killing them without license, you will pay. These beings are beyond time and space. They will be waiting, I promise you. There's ways to make amends for that sort of work, but I couldn't educate you. I couldn't educate you because I am uninterested in knowing how to save people like that. You see, when you are actually sacrificing an animal, you are sacrificing a part of your inner child. You will mourn. When you are abusing it, you are performing ritual murder, and it is not healthy for the psyche. You get to enjoy it. It's all in a day's work. You actually get this rush, and you mistake that euphoria for spiritual power when it's actually just chemicals in the brain that are making you feel good for exercising your power over innocence. It's mental illness. It's spiritual corruption. And you might have an illusion of false power now, but you are committing a grave act of disrespect unto the ancient gods. There is a time and a place. This is not something that you can misappropriate without consequence. That's all I have to interject there.
Exactly. And so I would like to continue like with the lineage aspect. So I told you guys what lineage is. So for me, what lineage is not, okay, is internet initiation. That's not lineage. Reading one book on the subject, that's not lineage. Copying a TikTok, that's not fucking lineage. All right. All of that's just bullshit. So the clear distinction here, a santero performing a sacrifice inside a living tradition, that's lineage. A modern occultist doing it for reaction content or trying to make themselves look like an edgelord, like they've got power because they're able to do this, that's not lineage. Okay, so these are not the same thing. Pretending that they are is dishonest, disingenuous, and you know, this distinction needs to be drawn, because the thing is people they don't see the line, they don't see the difference. And there's a clear fucking difference, and it pisses me off when people think that, oh, I'm gonna do this. Like, and here's the thing, like the guy that I'm talking about with these pictures online and everything, they are, or he's of Mexican heritage, right? He's you know, Latino. Here's the thing, when we talk about lineage, we're not talking about your bloodline, right? Just being Mexican or being Latino isn't lineage. It's not what we're talking about when we talk about lineage. Oh, I'm Mexican, so I can. No, dumbass. That's not what gives you carte blanche to do this shit, right? It doesn't, right? And so, Hearse, I want your thoughts.
A lot of people don't see behind the scenes of the big name occultists, magicians. They see the videos. If you look behind the scenes of a lot of these well-known occultists, you'll see a lot of them are very angry, very abusive, very tied into some very dark shit, don't have a heart. They've literally shut off their love. And it sounds funny when I say love being an occultist, but you still have to have that love somewhere. You turn into a fucking psychopath. And you have to realize a lot of these, what I'm talking about, they're very, very abusive. They're very scared. They'll walk around with 2 guns in their pocket. They're petrified of the living, but they want to call in the darkest. But they're scared of the living. You have to realize in black magic, this becomes a crutch. Look at me. I'm dark. I'm evil. I'm this. Because they're building a show. They're building something they want you to see. But you're not seeing how they live behind the scenes, addicted to this shit because they can't even close off their own mind. They can't get away from themselves. So they have to medicate. They have to do this. They have to beat their wife or their girlfriend because they don't want their girlfriend to have a voice, you know. That's what this gets you to. That's what it gets you to when you close yourself off. You know, when you do animal sacrifice, not in the proper steps, you're no worse than a murderer. And you get that psychopath ethics in your own life, and it starts carrying over in all aspects.
You can see that shit too, man. You can see that shit in their fucking faces, man.
And
like
mental illness.
Yeah, man, you can see it. Like people that do this shit like this, like you're just like, dude, there is something not ticking right in that person's head, man. Like, and like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I mean, this dude, like, the thing is like both Dyra and I blocked this person because we're like, there is something wrong with this person. And yeah, it's, you know, it's kind of scary. Like, this is the kind of person that's like, you know, is going to go into some type of psychotic state because you looked at them wrong, you know? And I'm like, nah, bro, no. Like, and you know, it's because of the shit that they're doing. Exactly because of what her says. I mean, I hate to do it, man, but I can't think of anything else but like fucking amen, brother. Like, I mean, it's like, you know, you know, it's 100% like.
But the whole thing is they want to be seen as dark, but when you challenge them, they will not accept the challenge. They want to hide. You know, on camera, they can look like the most baddest motherfucker, but when you confront them, where you at?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's ironic to say and to be from this perspective, like, look at me, I'm dark. Because the irony about darkness is it isn't seen.
Exactly.
True darkness isn't seen. It's about the unknown. So you can't say, look at me, I'm dark. That's like the concept. And martial arts, we call that false humility. Look at how humble I am. Give me a break. That's false humility. Look at how humble I am. Give me a break. That's not real. Look at how dark I am. That's not darkness, dude. That's not power. What happened to be silent? You know, come on, I challenge you to a witch war. It's morphin' time. You don't announce it. To be silent, bruh. What happened to the witch's creed? Come on, man. And these are the same kind of people that'll bitch and whine about misappropriation. You're out here teaching woke concepts as if it's witchcraft, and it's not.
100%, man. 100%. And here's the other thing.
Your feelings are not relevant. And your feelings to want to constantly end the life of something that you should respect as a witch, as an emissary of the ancient gods, is proof that you have not achieved yoga or union with the divine, whether infernal or otherwise. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, dude. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, I mean, it's going to happen, right? You know, like, but, no, it's like that whole concept of like, because the whole aspect of that conversation, like, oh, let's take it to the astral and this, that, and the next thing, and I'm like, I'm not. I know this is going to be taken the wrong way, and it's going to be taken as boasting. And you know, you can take it however you want to take it, because I know how everybody sees these types of things. But I'm the type of person that, like, if you have a problem with me, like, I'll pay for your plane ticket. Come on, like, I'll meet you at the airport. Like, if you got a problem with me, I will pay for your plane ticket. I'll meet you wherever you want to meet me. We can say, I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to sit here and assume that I'm going to be able to kick your ass, but I'm also not afraid to get my ass kicked. Right. So if you got a problem with me, like, no, fuck the astral, man. Like, here's a plane ticket. Let's, you know, let's make something happen. Right. Because, like, to me, yeah, right. Because I'm sorry. Like, right. Like, so I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I feel like that is the most disingenuous, pussy ass, beta male bullshit, like, that I've ever seen in my fucking life. It's like, oh, let's take this to the astral. No, motherfucker, let's take it to streets. Like, you got something you want to say, you got something you want to do, then do it. Jump, big dog. Like, I mean, like, you know, like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to kick your ass. I don't know I'm going to kick your ass, but you better be goddamn sure that you are never going to have a fight in your life the way that you're going to have a fight with me. Like, that shit, I promise you. You might come out on top, and in that I respect you. But this shit, take it to the astral. So get the fuck out of here, man. Like, this like, I'm sorry, this is the most beta male bullshit I've ever fucking heard. It just pissed me off when I saw it. It's like, oh, let's take this to the astral. It's like, what? Because you're a bitch? Because you can't take it to the street? You too afraid of the concrete meeting your face? Like, I mean, what? Like, oh, like, I don't mean to get aggressive, but, like, you know, I mean, that's how I was raised, man. Like, my father used to tell me, you never know a man as well as you know him until after you have a conflict with him, till after you fight him, you know? And, like, and it's not in, like, you know, macho bullshit kind of way. It's just, if somebody fights with honor, like, there's honor and respect there, right? But this take it to the astral shit, like,
all right. I'm gonna start something new, Adius, and if you want to back me on this, we're gonna call this Witch Club, where we can bring in two witches in the same room, and you can go at it.
Witch Club, Fight Club. All right, I got the first rule of Witch Club is you don't talk about Witch Club. I mean, Curtis, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, that's just a fundamental fact, man. It's a truth. Like, there's levels of existence, dude. And you can be adversarial in this realm because this is the physical world. You know, I've been having to school people on harming spiritual forces lately for some reason, because people think that they can kill demons and angels. And I just can't. I've been having to teach the logic and hubris of this way of thinking. It's not logic. It's illogical. And it's like, you are not, I don't care what you do psychologically on a guided meditation, dude, or a path working. You could kill a mental structure that you see as Asmodee. But at the end of the day, you can evoke that spirit the next morning, the next evening, and have full-on conversations and receive gnosis. Like, you're not killing demons. I'm literally having to choose to teach people this because they're ignorant enough to be spreading the opposite information around as spiritual wisdom. But that's my thoughts on that are the same as the thoughts of this. Like, it's absolute ignorance, delusion, and hubris. You know what I mean? It's just stupid to think that way, man. It's that simple. Deal with this shit that way in this realm, because that's how we deal with things here. For everybody to see, for everybody to know. That way, you know, objectively, yeah, okay, I failed, but guess what? You can still learn, become
Right.
stronger, do it
Yeah.
again, and come back a better fighter. There is
Hmm.
honor to be won. There is respect to be had in the game. You know what I'm saying? And take it to the astral. It is a beta move. It's a simp move, dude. It's a
Hmm.
simp move. It's
It
a
is.
beta ass move. It's passive aggressive.
It is.
It's passive aggressive.
It
And
is.
You
here,
know what I'm
and
saying? Magic for the alchemists, it's really about self-transformation. It's not this corny delusion, last frontier medium bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
oh, that's great. That's great. No, I completely
We're
agree.
not.
And the thing is,
We're not. We're not in a
huh?
Highlander. We're
No,
not
no, we're
playing
not.
Highlander.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. So, and the thing is like one thing to kind of understand about me, like, I mean, like, granted, this is me back in high school. I'm not like this anymore. I've mellowed out a lot. But, you know, I mean, I did come from an abusive home where, you know, I thought like I didn't have any power. And so, kind of like a reaction that I had to that was I would pick fights in high school. But the thing was, is I would pick fights. I was the dumbass. I would pick fights with people like 2-3 times my size, like the jocks. Like I'm this skinny fucking goth kid, right? Wearing eyeliner, black lipstick. I have long hair, black nails. You know, I'm wearing 69-inch fucking pants from Kickwear. You know, it was the early 2000s, guys. You know, and so I would go
Skater
up,
jeans.
yeah, 100% skater jeans, you know, the fucking DC shoes and shit. And dude, I would roll up on like, and I say roll up like I'm a badass, right? But like, you know, I would come up on like a random jock that never had any beef with me and just smack him in the face. Like some dude twice my size. I would get my ass ripped, man. I would get the shit kicked out of me. And I did that I don't know how many times in high school. Like I don't know if I was a masochist. I don't know what the deal was, but yeah, I won my fair share. You know, I won a couple of fights here and there, but most of the time I would get my ass kicked. And the thing is, I'm not afraid to get my ass kicked. Like I'm not afraid of getting punched. Like I'm not afraid of like, you know, somebody connecting with my jaw and breaking my nose and breaking my jaw. Like I'm not, you know, I'm not afraid of it. And so
Right.
like when somebody comes up to me and they're like, oh, let's take this to the astral. I'm like, motherfucker, no, let's take it to the streets, man. Like, I mean, I'll pay for your plane ticket. Come on down. Like, we'll beat the shit out of each other and drink a beer afterwards. How about that? Like, you know, let's go. You know, like...
It really makes you wonder, though, the mindset where you have to go on social media and challenge somebody in that degree because they disagree with what you're saying. That goes back
Right?
into the mental
Right?
illness. That goes back into not being stable, having to be seen, because you're doing, Adius, is you're challenging their pocketbook, because if people don't see them in that power anymore, then people ain't going to go to them for them rituals and they're going to lose their money. So they had to be like that junkyard dog at you, you know. People are seeing there's more to this. There's more to this, guys. And people are opening their eyes. There's other ways to gain the power. You know, there's ways to give offerings. There's ways to do this properly, so you safely connect as a magician, not improper connection. So you literally go fucking crazy in a year. You know, there's proper ways of doing this. So if you guys are watching this, I'm going to put the warning out there. Learn the proper steps. You don't have to go ape shit crazy, lock yourself in a room for 24 hours in the darkness to become dark. It's a mindset of changing and becoming your own self, your own God, and your own empowerment.
Well, let me add something to that.
Becoming your own self.
Yeah, let me add something to that too. Like, go ahead, Curtis.
Well, see, what I wanted to say real quick is the importance of understanding, man. Like even going through the toad rite, I come to understand because I literally petitioned to be able to perform this ritual. I petitioned the dragon to be able to do this, man. And I'm sitting there thinking about, okay, So I'm looking for some sort of dream, some sort of sign, some sort of omen. The animal will normally, according to tradition, according to traditional witchcraft, the animal you see is the one that is meant for the sacrifice. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And bro, how this lesson manifests for me was I did find one that was already dying and it wasn't dead. And the inner conflict was, am I supposed to be trying to save this animal? You feel emotionally attached. And I understood this was a part of the ritual. I was tempted to try to save a part of myself that represented something much deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to let go and I had to detach. It was like, wait a minute, no, this is the sacrifice. Well, and I'm connected to the dragon at this moment. And I'm like, I'm just feeling right now that this sacrifice was done. You are not to follow this bloody path because to do so is to destroy the inner child.
Mm-hmm.
It is the work of some. It is not the work for all.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%.
And so I completed the toad rite using this toad that was already sacrificed for me. I had to experience death with it. And I did mourn. Interestingly enough, it was still a process of mourning.
Mm-hmm.
But you start to understand through these lineages, man, that it's not just about going through steps. It's not just about proper ritual. It is about actually having connection with the divine and getting permission for the path through them. And it is revealed through signs, omens, and higher spiritual intelligence, being able to see things from a higher perspective. So if you're somebody that's looking for clout, if you're somebody on social media that doesn't know the difference between a stele and a sigil, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Stop. Don't do things just to do it, because you will create mental illness doing something like this on a regular basis. And like you said, it's observable in the behavior of the people. Sorry.
It is. No, and what I want to say is, like, so there's one word that kind of keeps getting thrown around here, and I want to give my perspective on this. So we keep talking about darkness and being dark. So I got an inverted pentagram on my head from a company called Poisoning Apparel. I wear clothes from Killstar. I wear clothes from Hot Topic. I listen to Marilyn Manson's my favorite band. I'm a metalhead. You know, I like the dark trap goth. Like, if you look at my designs, even if you look at like my logo right below my face, you know, like it's in, you know, a dark, you know, heavy metal format. If you look at, you know, the logo for Satan and Coffee, it's got that traditional imagery of, you know, Lucifer being taken down by you know, Michael, and all of that. People look at that and they go, "Oh, edgelord." But guess what? I'm gonna shock everybody. I don't consider myself a dark person. I'm not a dark person. I'm not. Now, there's a lot of stuff around me that I like the imagery of, that, you know, I enjoy, that I put out there, that is a part of me. That darkness is a part of me. There is a part of me that is dark. That's my shadow. But I'm constantly doing that work, trying to integrate that shit, right? I'm trying to, I'm going through individuation every single fucking day. And mind you, and I say individuation because that's the psychological term. That's the Carl Jung term, right? That we as occultists like to call self-deification. So no, I'm not a dark person.
Self-actualization.
Exactly. I'm not a dark person. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, I'm dark, bro." No, I'm not. I'm full of light and love. And you want to know where that comes from? I love my wife. I love my sons. I love the life that I've built with my family. I love my friends. You know, I love the community that I have. I love the blessings that I have in front of me. Like all of this, all of you sitting in here in this chat right now, listening to this conversation, these two gentlemen sitting here with me right now, these are my fucking blessings. And I love the fact that I have all this. I'm not a dark person. I have a balance with my darkness and my shadow, and I integrate that shit every every day, every opportunity I have. And that's the fucking work. Am I left-hand path? Yeah, but I'm not fucking dark. And anyone, and I'm sorry, this is my opinion, but anyone says that I'm dark, like I practice black magic. It's like, you're a fucking kid and you're a tourist in this shit because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because if that's your outlook, if that's your projection to the world, that you're dark and you want people to be afraid of you. I mean, look at a wonderful example of this, right? Is if you look at Behemoth X, and I know I talk about him a lot, but you look at the rituals that he does and his projection in his rituals. Yeah, the shit looks dark. That man is a family man. That man loves his kids and loves his wife. That is a man full of fucking love. You listen to that man speak, and
you can hear it.
It comes from a place of love, man. That isn't darkness. That's being in balance with your shit. So, Curtis, I'm curious with what I just said. What are your thoughts on what I just said, Curtis?
Well, it's very simple. You're right on. See, here's the thing. Like, I used to do it too, wear nothing but black. I wasn't really goth. I just wore black. Black was the way I expressed myself. My walls had to be black. Everything had to be fucking black. But then I realized that what I would do constantly wearing black is actually always absorb other people's energy. And I started to realize that that was dangerous for me, which is why I started wearing color and just being the average guy. And that's where my darkness is. Nobody understands that I am. I'm just the average guy on the street. No one will ever know who I am, what I'm doing. I'm like the gray man.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
So for me, it's understanding that I do love black, because it absorbs and therefore contains all colors of the light spectrum. But when you're anchored in love, see, I teach that empathy is the foundation of all psychic faculties. When you're evoking a spirit or calling upon a spirit, you will feel its presence first through your empathy. And so empathy with one another through the respect of life is needed as a foundation of being able to effectively conjure. These people who kill without remorse, ritually, they lack empathy. So I know they don't understand the actual heart of these operations, but it has nothing to do with the shock value, the edgelord points, clout. You know, it's interesting you bring up Behemoth X because I emailed him recently, and yeah, same guy, dude. Family man, anchored in love. But that's the thing, we're talking about alignment again. You're aligned with yourself and divinity. And that's the secret to magic, guys. It's aligning the heart with the head, and you have to cross the abyss to get there. You have to really do it. And you're not doing it through murder. You're doing it by sacrificing those parts of self that aren't going to make it across the journey anyway. It's heavy baggage that's going to weigh you down. You got to get to the truth of who you are, understand that by yoga, connecting to the divine, and crossing, dude. Yeah, understanding that, okay, the abyss is abysmal to us now from our finite human perspective, but from the other side, it's just a pond. But you got to be connected to the pond, the lineage, the tradition, and you got to have the backing of actual experience and flight time.
Yeah, I mean, like having an interest or a like in the dark aesthetic, like I do, or even like I'm assuming, like we'll get to hers here in a second. You know, that's one thing. Like I externalize a lot of that, like that darkness that's inside of me, because that's my vent. Right? Like, so when you guys see my artwork or you hear my music or like you even watch the show and stuff like that, like I do have an appreciation for that dark macabre aesthetic. Like I find beauty in it, but I will never describe myself as a dark person because I'm not. I'm not a dark person. You know, I have darkness. We all do. and I'm aware of my darkness, and I'm in balance with my darkness. And that darkness that we talk about is the shadow. If we look at Jungian psychology, we're talking about the shadow. We're talking about the things that we hide, the things that we want to protect ourselves from. Here's one thing you might not know. My favorite color is actually orange. Unfortunately, I won't wear it because I don't want to look like a felon. I wear black because, it's slimming and it's almost 40 years old. There's a couple extra pounds that I don't want people to see. But, I'm joking, but I'm not a dark person. Despite the tattoos, do I appreciate the dark aesthetic? I do, but I would never consider myself or call myself a dark person. And this is what I believe makes the difference between somebody that, dresses like this because they enjoy it and an edgelord. An edgelord wants to come across as darkness in body. They want to be Bane, right? Like talking to Batman, right? It's like, oh, you adopted the darkness. I was born in it. It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. So Hers, let's hear from Hers. Hers, what are your thoughts on darkness, my friend? And, this aspect of the topic.
But people know me. You've seen my altars. Adius. I've learned there's two sides: the loving, the family man, and then you can switch over to the businessman when you need to go to the altar. You learn how to do those two different aspects. The way I carry myself, yeah, I wear black. Everything around me is black. My house is black. Everything around me is black. But it's different for me because I do this for clients. I do this for a living. I take care of people. So yeah, I'm very dark in a way, but I'm also very loving because I'll step in and take that curse or take whatever or do that protection. But that goes through a lot of healing of yourself, of your own shadow work, of knowing what you can take, what you can handle. And I think becoming dark is dying to fears, dying to self, dying to needing to lean on a savior and becoming your own. And when you become that's when you become your own power. A lot of people look at me and if like they come into my house and shit and they're like, oh my God, man, are you a Satan worshiper? What do you do for a living? It's like I have other people come into my house and they're like, man, this is more loving in here than a Christian home. You feel love here. So it really goes in the aspects of what you're pushing, but you can't stay in that place of fear and intimidation 24 hours a day. Trust me, I've tried that. I've been there. I think we all have. Where's it get you? Depression. Where's it get you? A place of no hope, being wore out, no ambition, and that's not a place where you really want to be. But a lot of people teach that, oh, now you're depressed. Now you're this. Now you've made it. No, you're just depressed. You're going through a mental breakdown. Go outside to get some sunshine, walk in the grass.
Right.
Turn on
Exactly.
music and change.
Yeah.
We all need that vitamin D, man. And it is, man, dude. There's sometimes like I'll spend days in the house, just because, there's no reason to go out. And I'll go out for a walk just randomly, and that the sun hits me, and I'm just like, oh, dude, that feels amazing, and like I think people have this misconception. They look at my background, they look at me, and they just kind of make this assumption, that, oh, he's an edgelord. Guys, understand something. This is behind me, beside me. Yeah, you're looking at my dining room essentially, but you know why my backgrounds look like this? You know what we call it? It's a set. That's what it's called. It's a fucking set. Like, let that process for a second. Right? Like, I have no shame in admitting that. Like, this is stuff that we chose to have in our home because it's my dining room behind me. But at the same time, it's a set. You see that neon pentagram there? It's part of a set, man. Like, it's there so it gives you something to look at besides me, Like,
it's a place for your show to be.
Exactly. So it's just...
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. past the animal offerings and all that, if being a magician, you have to learn how to summon, open, and close. You should have control over deities and what you're calling in and what you're working with. Too many people want to call them in and never shut them down and have them around them 24 hours a day. And that'll eat you. That'll destroy you. You will become somebody you don't want to become. And that's not what this is about, guys. Too many people want to give them human behavior. I'm sitting here drinking coffee with Belial. No, you're not. Sit down, mental illness. You need to go to the hospital, get some pills.
Thank you. Get some Thorazine.
As a magician, we should have the control at all times. That's what summoning is, learning how to open and close. And when you go past that point of, I'm just going to be around them 24 hours a day, that's when it becomes an illness, that's when it becomes an issue, and that's when it starts affecting everybody around you.
Well, I have something to say to that effect, but I want Curtis to say what he wanted to say, because I saw that you wanted to say something there, brother. So go for it.
No, I agree. But there's also integration. Like within Jungian thought, there's an integration of the shadow. So while what you say is correct, integration is where your logical life, your logical, grounded, everyday experience, you can express divine truth without being delusional. So you can express Belial's power while drinking coffee, but you're not drinking coffee with Belial. You're right. You have to be able to shut down and understand that the ritual is part of the ritual of life. It's like brushing your teeth. But when you're brushing your teeth and you're having to act in the world, like you don't want to have a conversation with a toothbrush in your mouth. So again, it's appropriating things in proper context, like sacrifice, so that you're not spitting toothpaste all over while you're trying to perform a lecture. It's just common sense.
Yep.
You know what I'm
100%.
saying?
Yeah. So the point that I want to add to this. So there's a comment that I made in my initial short about animal sacrifice, where I said that most of the work that I do comes from me, right? I don't ask, I don't usually ask the entities that I work with to do anything for me. And like when I do ritual work for clients, for myself, stuff like that, it comes from me. What I do, it's not to say that I don't work with the entities that we talk about, but my perspective on it is, Curtis and I had a conversation about this. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And my direction on it is, how do I embody your essence to obtain or go through this process, this transmutation, successfully? It's not do this thing for me. I don't assume on our friendship, to quote George Carlin. If you guys are familiar with that skit, then I'm proud of you.
George Carlin is so funny, dude.
Oh yeah. So I don't assume that the things that I work with even want to help me. And here's another thing. One thing that I've learned through my practice with Baphomet, like my dedication to Baphomet, is when you do those dedications, when you are dedicated and you do, the offerings, and you have that communique, and you look for that gnosis, and you're not asking for shit, sometimes these things just kind of step in and say, here, let me nudge this to the side a little bit for you. Let me help you out a little bit here without you fucking asking for it, right? But the idea of going into this shit and going into ritual and being like, I need you to put this person into the hospital, or I need you to do this thing. Can you do that? Yeah, you can do that. Of course you can. Are you going to get your results? In my experience, probably not. Probably not. The one time that I can remember off of the top of my head, Dyra and I had a mutual client that had an attachment. I can't speak to the client, but they had actually recently just passed away. But they had an attachment, And so because of the baby and stuff like that, I went in and I did the ritual to kind of have, this attachment, removed. And in that case, yes, I did go in and I went in with Pazuzu and asked Pazuzu to remove the attachment and channel it into, a sealed jar, right? That jar is still upstairs in the temple. Like I'm not sure what to do with it at this point. But one of the things that I got in through this is that I heard this person's not going to make it past the end of the year. This is 2025. They're not going to make it, through the year. And the attachment was removed, and on December 24th, they passed away. And the problem was I felt horrible because, the person that solicited the ritual was the person's wife. And they noticed improvement after the ritual was finished, that they started to improve. Their spirits were higher. They felt better. But that attachment, that energy drained too much. That's a case in a scenario where
spiritually, though, the person was still liberated.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And they're still in a better place.
Mm-hmm.
You see, now here's the thing. We can weigh the cost, because what I'm seeing is, in a situation like this, the person might have lived longer, but they may have suffered a lot more. And not only that, they could have hurt other people.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And it was already getting to that point where other people were getting hurt. And, so there's a part where I'm thankful that they had a few months or a few weeks, of meaningful time with their family. But I'm also sad that, removing that attachment, it allowed that life energy to kind of just, to go.
That's deep.
But that is a situation where, yes, I went in and I asked an entity to do something. That is a situation where I would ask an entity to do something, to assist me directly in doing something. But in my own shit, day to day, I'm right. Sorry, but I'm so tired of people talking about self-deification and then 100% relying on demons and gods to do their shit for them. It's like you're not going through individuation. You're avoiding the alchemical process of becoming your own god. The idea, the whole basis and concept of self-deification, by putting all of this reliance on these entities. And then you have the audacity to say that you're left-hand path, and it's like, you're not, though, are you? Because you're externalizing everything.
And that's what Christianity is. You always become what you hate.
Yeah, 100%. So, Curtis, I'm curious. Do you have anything more to add to that?
No, you wrapped it up wonderfully. I really have nothing to add to that. There's nothing more I could add. Simplicity is sometimes the most powerful and most effective.
Agreed 100%. So let's keep moving into this, because there's another aspect of the animal sacrifice part that I want to keep going with. We're not done with this. And like I said, guys, we are scheduled for 2 hours this morning. So, we still have another solid 40 minutes left of this discussion. So the next part that I want to get into here, as I refill my vape, and if you guys are wondering, it is Watermelon Cherry by Voodoo Juice. I think that's just, ironic that the company's called Voodoo. But anyway, so what I want to get into here is the psychological functions of blood rituals. Blood rituals, not just animal sacrifice, but blood rituals in general. So why blood matters, or at least it mattered, right? So blood rituals, animal sacrifice, there's inside of lineage, there's an understanding of what it represents in the ritual. And the list that I've created, it's simplistic and to the point, but it's to say there's a representation of finality, cost, irreversibility, and somatic imprint. are kind of like the primary, points to that. And one of the reasons why I say animal sacrifice can be replaced by other things is the modern substitutes for those could be, fasting, sexual energy, pain thresholds, time sacrifice, ego sacrifice. All of these things, uphold the same values as, the representation of a blood sacrifice. Now, with that being said, Hurst, we're going to get to you in a second, but Curtis, I want to know your thoughts on those two things that I'm putting out there. Like, do you agree? Do you disagree? Or what are your thoughts?
Well, I agree, because a sacrifice doesn't have to be a sacrifice of a life. But the most important part of a sacrifice is it's something you actually don't want to let go of. That's why ritual murder is not sacrifice. You know what I mean? Sacrificing a bad habit for the glory of a god. That's powerful sacrifice. People go through the DTs, man, and, quit things like meth, heroin all the time. I've helped a lot of students come off a lot of dark, possessive shit that is rather demonic, according to the real parasitic definition. The real archons that are beyond angels and demons, right?
100%.
Sacrificing time. Yeah, man. That's a huge part within your Baphomet book.
Mm-hmm.
The sacrifice of time. That definitely is a sacrifice, because time is money, man. Spending
Irreversible.
time at an altar, spending time receiving the gifts of knowledge, wisdom, to be able to offer it to mankind freely. That's a sacrifice. So yeah, all those things are sacrifices. And blood sacrifice, is it a symbol of the finality? Yes, but practically it's merely a spiritual gateway. Taking a life is always its own thing, in my opinion. Are those things sacrifices? Yes. Is it the same thing as sacrificing the totality of life? No.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different.
Yeah. So, Hurst, what are your thoughts?
Left me on the last of it when all the good stuff's been said over here. I'm going to add one more: spiritual death to yourself. A lot of people don't realize spiritual death with a deity. A lot of people want to say, like with me, I'm very close with Belial and some other ones like that. Now, what happens is you exchange their knowledge. They teach you. They guide you. You become your own by their guidance.
Yes.
It's like steps. They teach you. You let go of your own ways, your own anger, your thoughts, things that used to destroy you. And that now becomes enlightened, so that is no longer there, and you have a new space and a new place in your own life. So that spiritual death is a big one. I think that's a big sacrifice when you're willing to, when you can give something up. And now, blood, I'm going to add on to that one since I'm the third guy on the totem pole here. It's right now on this one. Blood is something you have to be very careful, because, like Curtis said, it's a gateway. Now, it's a lot different to go to your altar and give them, coffee or wine or chocolate. That's offerings. When you give them your own blood, that is a gateway. That is keys, especially when you give your own blood. Now you're offering them your life, your source, your connection. And that is immediate openings for them to come in.
Yeah.
When that happens, when you give that, you no longer have the right to have boundaries. You can't shut that down. That is an opening. That is a gateway. So you have to be very careful how you perceive that. And you have to study and make sure that's what you want, because you're not going to be able to shut it down. You're going to become what they truly are, not what people taught you in books, not what people want you to see them as. You're going to become all of them, all of it, 100%. You're going to get their energy, their anger, their whatever they have. You're going to gain that, and it's going to be like that in your life. And if you haven't gone through your shadow work, you haven't gone through your dying to self, it's going to amplify everything in your life. It's going to push everything that you've been hiding. It's going to push everything that you've been not wanting people to see. It's going to push things you've been hiding, like addictions that you've been trying to hide. It's going to push it all forward. And they're going to lay it in front of you. And it's going to be either one or two things happens. You break, and you become what you need to become, or it's going to overtake. So that's the dangers. That's two. I'm going to let Curtis speak. I see it on his face. So go ahead, Curtis.
Go for it, Curtis.
No, man, you're right. You know, sigils are physical manifestations. And it is all too common for people to be blooding sigils. And I teach the same thing within my tradition. You know, I blood Lucifer's sigil, I blood Belial's sigil. That's yin yang. Other than that, I stay away from it because when you have access to those two, you have access to it all. The 72 angels, the 72 demons, the angels of the tree, the demons of the tree, the zodiacal angels, the zodiacal demons, you could access any of it. You know, so they can hijack your genetic code because that's what you're giving them. You want to be in control of the book of life. That's where the blood is. That's the book of life. All of the information of your entire lineage, your entire bloodline, rather, not lineage. We already established the differences in those terms. Your entire bloodline and the information of all of your ancestors is there. You don't want to just have that hijacked by something that you have not alchemically aligned with yet, because it has its own agenda. And it can work that agenda through you without consent if you aren't in alignment. Can you get in alignment through proper self-work? Yes, but this is the nature of alchemy, and it is a science.
100%. No, and speaking of like alchemy, I mean, this is kind of like, you know, an oversimplification, but like, so to speak to blood ritual, I wouldn't inherently say that I don't do blood ritual, but I don't do blood ritual with actual blood. So I take a note out of the Catholic book, and I use wine, and I do a ritual before a ritual that transmutes that wine into my being. That wine becomes my blood. And one thing that I've noticed that happens when I do that is, you know, usually when you leave a liquid on the altar, you know, that liquid has a tendency of going stagnant or becoming moldy or something like that. If it's coffee, wine can become moldy and stuff like that. But anytime I do transmutation of wine into my own blood, 3 days, and that blood is that wine is gone. It's completely evaporated out of the cup. Like there's a residue at the bottom, but that's it. Right? Like it's, and I've noticed like how that happens. Now, my logical brain, because I'm a skeptic, you know, and I think that that's like my benefit in this is my logical brain. Well, it's alcohol, right? So alcohol left out into the air will inevitably begin to evaporate, right? But I have had cases when I don't do the transmutation of it that it develops mold. And it becomes more of a congealed kind of weird fucking thing, you know, on my altar, you know, and when I transmute it, there's only like a residue left at the bottom of the cup. And so that's how I do blood ritual is without, there's only one time in my entire life that I've ever actually done a blood ritual with my actual blood. And that was the infernal marriage ceremony that I performed with Daira. That's the only time that I ever actually used my own blood in a ritual. And for good reason. And it wasn't to invoke a demon. It wasn't to charge a sigil. It was to a symbolic representation of an eternal intertwining of selves and souls. And that's the only time I've ever actually done a blood ritual with actual blood is that ritual. And so, yeah, I think that like the obsession on this shit in the occult community of animal sacrifice and all of these things is, you know, it's just a bit ridiculous in my opinion. You know, it's so I always like to say if your ritual costs nothing, it does nothing, right? But the cost doesn't have to be something that's not of yourself. Like back in the day when we talk about ritual sacrifice, and I think this is an important part to like discuss. Back in the day when people would sacrifice chickens and shit, people use these things to make money, right? They either fed their family with that chicken, or they used that chicken to, you know, lay eggs, to sell eggs, or they had, you know, chickens that they used that they would sell to people. So there was something that was directly connected to that chicken and that person's survival. And so going through an animal sacrifice and killing that chicken in a ritual for an improvement in crops or whatever the case may be, to cure an illness, there was an actual element of sacrifice in it. I'm sorry, but your $20, $50 that you use to buy a live chicken, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And you need to stop pretending that it fucking is. Right? Let's reverse the order here. Hearst, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that aspect of things? As I look at that today, let me put this way, terminology also. When you kill an animal today in modern occultism, I do not look at that as a sacrifice. I look at it as an offering. You are offering something. You're not sacrificing anything. There's nothing of the self being reduced in the way that some of or most modern occultists perform animal sacrifice. Hearst, your thoughts?
Spotlight over here, spotlight. Sometimes you have to exchange life for life. It has to happen, but it's very rare that it has to happen. Now, a lot of times, if you go back and look at animal sacrifice, like cats, go back, you know, they're killed in a very torturous way because that pain goes into the bones, and then the bones are used for more painful because of what they've gone through. And same with the chicken. Usually, when you get a sacrificial chicken, they usually are more cleansed. They're more prepared. They're more done in a more appropriate way than just picking up a chicken from Tractor Supply and taking it and using ritual. It's prepared, it's prepped, it's born, it's raised to be used in sacrifice. It's done in sanctification. It's a sanctification that makes it clean so that you can use it in right. So when you go and buy a chicken from Tractor Supply or whatever, and you go, now I'm going to slice the chicken's throat, that chicken has not been prepped in the sanctified ways, making the bloodline of that chicken pure, making the bloodline of what you're about to do be pure. Because when you do use animal sacrifice in a proper way, not baneful, but as a sacrifice, it's supposed to be done in a ritualistic, pure atonement prep, you know. And you don't see that. You don't see people bringing out the white meats. You don't see them preparing the chicken in the proper ways of bringing it life to take its life. You know, it's done in more of a cannibalistic way of just, look at me. No, you have to prepare and prep. And if you're gonna take, you have to prepare and you have to take, but you also have to pass it on to the next lifeline of that animal's life. You know, you have to do it very, very carefully, you know. And also the grounds, you know, when you're doing this in not a proper way, and say you're sacrificing chickens in your backyard, what about the ground? You know, them grounds ain't prepped afterwards. And if you look at proper rituals,
you're opening gates, dude. I'm telling you, it's so toxic for the grid. The ley lines. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, you're destroying the earth. You're imbalancing the world's soul. This is the issue, bro. There's specific currents within the modern world that I really respect. And the world's soul is, to me, an important concept to understand. And when we do things out of proper context, outside of proper justified use that we are licensed to perform, dude, we're creating toxic energy blockages within the totality, man. This is one reason we live in hell. The earth is so chaotic. because everything is misappropriated, taken out of context. You know, so let's get back to natural, because natural is less fucking dangerous. When you're doing things in the proper context, it's natural. You're in alignment with nature. You're in alignment with the dragon. You know, and I'm sorry, the lack of knowledge and wisdom that is applied to this shit, it's just too dangerous. But what was the original question? I don't want to lose context of that. What was the original question, Matthias?
So the idea that, so the way that I look at it is, I don't believe that animal sacrifice today is actually sacrifice. I believe that animal sacrifice today is offering. It's more of a blood offering than it is a blood sacrifice. And I think that the terminology has changed because the circumstances surrounding it have changed, and what that death means to the practitioner.
Yeah. Yes, you are correct. In the modern misappropriated way, it has become a ritual offering, and it's performed through ritual murder. But it is not a sacrifice. Because, like it was mentioned, the animal is not raised. There is no relationship to have to sacrifice. It's just a part of a ritual. It's a step within the ritual that causes you to minimize the sacrament. You minimize the sacrament of the sacrifice. And again, you know, in most traditions, in most cases, unless you're going into criminal elements where people intentionally invert and make shit dark, and that shit happens a lot in Mexico. Once the sun goes down, boys, you better be across that fucking border. You know what I mean? The original reason for animal sacrifice is to sacrifice a part of yourself. And so you will mourn. There's a transmutation. You're passing on, like Azazel, the scapegoat and the rite of atonement. The Jews used to sacrifice one animal. The blood was the gateway. It opened up the gateway, which allowed the sins to travel into the infernal realms of Azazel. This is the mystery of the Christ. The Azazel. Christ was the scapegoat, right?
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
It's the iron.
100%. So there's a,
you know,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a sacredness to it. So there's a reason for it. And it's not, you get dark and yeah, you want to torture it. That's why you got the picture with the guy trying to choke the animal. Like, but let me tell you something. I was warned. You torture that toad, boy, you're going to suffer. During the toad rite, you're going to suffer accordingly. I was shown mercy by one being gifted to me already dying. They wanted my inner child to live. I was blessed. 100%. I don't look to kill or cut.
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing is like, so there's a couple of things I want to address here. There's a comment in the comment section I want to address, but there's something I want to say first. So about the death current and all of that stuff. I mean, the death current's a natural part of life. It's the one unavoidable aspect of life, that you're going to die. And so at my almost 40 years old, you know, death is, and my own personal mortality has been something that has been on my mind quite often. And not in the, you know, dramatic sense of, you know, oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm going through a midlife crisis, you know, I need to buy a Ferrari. No, but in the respect of understanding the finite nature of the beauty of existence, and the necessity of understanding that one day, hopefully later rather than sooner, my brain and my body are going to stop doing what it needs to do to keep this meat mass alive. And I'm going to fade off into memory and leave behind the people that I love the most. And so when I look at death, I don't look at it as something to be afraid of, though. Yes, I am afraid of dying. I'm not going to lie. Yes, I am. I don't want to die. You know, I suppose a more appropriate way to say is I'm not afraid of it, but I don't want to die yet. Sorry, little one's crying. I don't know if you can hear him. He does not like being changed. So, you know, I look at death as a reminder of the importance of the love that I say that I feel for the people and the blessings I have around me. It's not something to avoid or run away from, because it's something you can't run away from it. You can't. I mean, people, you know, talk about the death current, you know, or somebody had mentioned it, you know, saying that, you know, blood sacrifice, you know, it binds you to the death current. I'm sorry, you're already bound to the death current. Like, your very existence binds you to the death current, because you are going to inevitably die. Like, there is no two ways about it. You know, you are already bound by nature through your birth and your very existence to the death current, you know? And so animal sacrifice in the way that it's done now, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all, because I find it disgusting. I find it truly to be just edgelord antics and theatrics. It isn't a sacrifice, it's an offering. It doesn't make you more powerful. And then somebody asked in the chat, this is the comment that I want to address. Somebody says, how do you attack people on your own without demons? It's like, to assume that you don't have the power to affect someone else's life really is a reduction in your own power. To believe that you or feel that you need something external to yourself to affect someone else, it really shows how little you think of yourself and your own ability to do something. Now, can you work with a demon to attack someone? Yeah, of course you can. I'm not saying you can't. But do you need a demon to attack someone? No, you don't. You can
do it with an angel too.
100%. I mean, I've done plenty of baneful magic just myself that has been functional. Now, for those that know me, with intent.
Yeah.
And for those that know me and have been longtime followers of this channel, know that for myself, for my own work, I don't practice baneful magic, guys. I don't. I won't curse or hex people. I've done it twice. I've done it twice in my entire 20+ year practice. And after the second time, I promised myself I would never do it again, because I saw how functional it is, which is why I'm always preaching that if Curtis has said this, and I echo this 100%. If you're sitting there talking about a curse war or a witch war, or, you know, going at somebody with curses and hexes, then you don't really believe in the shit that you're doing. Because if you're not willing to take a firearm, point it at someone, and pull the trigger, then you shouldn't be willing to put a hex on or curse that person, because you are essentially doing the same thing. That is how much I believe in this shit, that I take it to the chest in saying that you have a loaded weapon with this shit. And so I don't do baneful magic because I know it works. And sometimes what you want is you just want to make someone sick. You just want to make them afraid. And then you end up killing an entire family.
That goes back into learning your craft. Like, I do baneful magic. That's what I do for a living. But I'm able to flip the switch and also be a healer. People don't realize 90% of what we do is 90% of what we do as magicians is heal. You know, we help you find your center, help you find your release. The 10% of baneful it's needed at times. But being the healer is a bitch, because you got to take on people's curses. You take on people's generational curses and all that stuff.
Sometimes the baneful magic is a part of the healing. You know, that's the issue.
Yes.
But the dragon divinity, it gives you the knowledge, you know, because I'm a person that turns down a lot of money. I'm not going to do a baneful ritual just because somebody wants to hurt somebody, man. There's got to be a reason for it. And if I find through divination that there's no fucking reason, as a high priest, as an ordained high priest, not self-proclaimed, as a priest of many traditions, I'm going to tell you right now, spiritual forces are actually consulted. You get permission to do such work. You get told, yes, move forward.
You do.
Because we are swords of the divine. But most of the time, when it comes to baneful magic, I have to turn money away. But it's a part of what I do for a fucking living. And I tell you one thing, I'm still not killing innocent people regardless. And I'm not killing anybody. I'm allowing fate to do work.
I've said this once before in a live. So I remember there was a guy that used to be a former client of Dyra. When she found out she was pregnant, she transferred him over to me because like he just scared the shit out of her. Like just with like he's just a creepy guy who's based out of Germany. And he wanted me to do a ritual that would force this woman that he was interested in to go back to him. And in the consultation that I did with him, I can't say gentleman, this piece of shit, openly and proudly talked about how you need to beat women, that like he used to beat the shit out of her and he would continue doing it because, you know, women need to know their place and, you know, this, that, and the next thing. And like, I never thought in a million years I'd ever meet someone that would actually openly say that they believe that this is okay. Right. And so, yeah, I took his money, but I cursed him. So he asked me to do something that morally I couldn't do. And if I knew that in that moment, if I said no, if I took like the moral high ground and I said, no, I can't do that, I don't agree with this, I knew that he would find somebody that would do it. So yeah, I took his money, but then I cursed him. So yes, that was a point where, yes, I did practice some baneful magic, but I felt like there was a justification there. I felt like there's something in me that says you need to do this. Because if you don't, then someone else is going to do exactly what he wants, and someone's life is going to be put in danger. Because what he wanted, essentially what he was breaking down to, is that she had told him that she was pregnant and that she was going to abort the baby because she didn't want to have his child. And he wanted her to come back to him so he could force her to keep the child. And I knew that inside of that situation, that was putting somebody's life at risk. And I couldn't allow that to happen. So yes, I took his money and I did work against him. I haven't heard from him since, so I have no idea what has or has not happened with him. But, you know, is there a justification for baneful magic? Sometimes, yes. I agree with Curtis in the sense that you don't just do it. You get permission to do it. Every time I have a client that requests baneful magic in ritual, like, I don't make any promises of whether or not the work's going to be done, because I do ritual before the ritual where I request permission and whether or not it's a justified reason for whatever is being done to be done. If I get a no, I do a ritual to help the person find another way around their problem. If I get a yes, then I go through with the magic. But I do not practice baneful magic haphazardly. I will not just do baneful magic just because. I will not do baneful magic for myself.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. If you're doing baneful magic for the right reasons, you're still serving the greater good of all. So true baneful magic doesn't exist.
If you're doing it right, yeah. If you're doing it, you know, exactly.
Beyond hubris and human ego and attachment. Right.
Exactly. And I think that's how it should be. I think that's how it should be practiced. I don't think just because somebody pays you money, you go in and you do something without checking up on it first. You can still do work for somebody, even if like, in that first like kind of initial like consultation ritual that you do, to ask, is this something that should be done? And if you get a no, that doesn't mean you can't do anything for your client. You know what I mean? But it just means that you need to go a different route. And unfortunately, the thing is I don't expect clients to understand that. Like, I'm not going to consult my client when a spirit or a demon or an entity puts a hard no in front of me on something. I'm not going to go to my client like, oh, you were told no, because they're going to go to somebody who's going to say that they're going to do it, and then they're not going to get results. Guess what? Like, even the clients that I don't do that specific ritual for, they still get results. Nobody's asked for a refund.
Mm-hmm.
So
you find another way. You offer another option. Because that's always revealed. The proper way will be revealed for someone who's actually licensed to be a spiritual consultant, who actually has the ability and the understanding and the wisdom, dude. They're able to provide the true path, the answer. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to be stupid about shit. Professionals are professionals for a reason.
And I think that goes back into what we're talking about, is people have to be seen because they don't have the goods. They can't back up what they do. Yeah. So then they have to start creating a facade,
Yes, a mask.
Like, fuck you and your fucking mask and your facade. I want to see the proof in the pudding.
Exactly. The proof is always in the pudding, guys.
But I want to say it like this though. It makes me laugh. I want to say one thing. This is me saying it, nobody else here. I want to say it, if you have someone that looks like Mr. T spiritually with 19 necklaces on and 1,000 things on, and they're scared of their own shadow, why are you going to that person? That person has no confidence. Go to the person that has the confidence, that knows what they're doing. This does not have to be seen. It'll be felt. It'll be known, It's one thing I tell people, and I tell my clients, and I tell my students, spirit will know spirit. You may go to a practitioner and your spirit don't like that practitioner. Even if they're well known, it means you ain't going to mix. Find the person that you're going to mix with, because everybody has somebody that they can connect with. Don't let names pursue you. Don't let people pursue you. Let your spirit connect and be comfortable, because you have to realize, karma, ain't going to come and get you, but you are going to have results. Because if you pay someone to murder somebody, that's going to be on your mind if it happens. You're going to be part of that. You're going to mourn that. You're going to be accountable for them actions, even though you did not do it. So make sure you have somebody that can walk you through and have accountability and have a place of balance.
Mothra, to answer your question, no, I never heard back from JS. And yes, I sent 2 emails. I used the email that was on his YouTube channel. I put that in the comment section. You can go check the comment section. I told him which email I sent it to. And I sent 2 emails and I never got anything back. So yeah, I don't know. So no, I've not heard anything from JS. I'm still open to having JS on for this very same discussion. If he wants to do a repeat of it, that's fine. I have 0 issues whatsoever. But I just never got anything back. I've checked my emails, for probably about a week after. Let me open this up. The last email I sent him, I'm opening up Outlook right now. Give me a second. Business email. It's got to load. Sent items. The last email that I sent Garrett was to the JS Garrett help desk at gmail.com, or the J Garrett help desk at gmail.com, was January 2nd, 2026, where I gave him times I said the show airs live at the following times: Wednesdays and Fridays at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, and Sundays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That was the last email that I sent to him. The previous one was actually a request for him to be on. He hasn't responded to either of those emails. So not sure kind of like where to go from there. If there's another email that, you know, I should be sending, you know, my correspondence to, but so
you send the same ones out all the time.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, if there's a, I don't know. I mean, I'll check the email that's listed on his YouTube, see if I got it right. But I mean, I just copy and pasted the damn thing. So maybe it's an error on my side, but I did. I sent him 2 emails and I never heard anything back. So yeah. And I mean, I've got the receipts for it. I mean, I can take a screenshot and I can put it up if people aren't going to believe me. If people are going to start turning around and say that like I'm backing out or something, that I don't want to have the conversation. So, you know, they're there. So yeah. With all of that being said, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think the left-hand path, animal sacrifice, this whole obsession of trying to come across as the darkest practitioner on the internet, you know, is just everything I'm seeing in the occult community is really bothering me. You know, I see it with my wife, for example, with Dyra. Dyra is probably one of the most intelligent people when it comes to occultism. She's probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever come across when it comes to especially like goetic magic. You know, like, I mean, her knowledge and understanding of everything just blows my fucking mind. And the fact that she is 90% of the time, you know, boiled down to how she looks disgusts me. The fact that, you know, most men in the occult aren't taken seriously unless we look like some demented version of like fucking, you know, Merlin, you know, like we have to look like some type of like goth super beast, you know, in order to be taken seriously. You know, it just speaks to, you know, how visual this community has become online, and, you know, misappropriating animal sacrifice is just like the next step in that. And, you know, it's just, it really, to be honest, guys, it really fucking disgusts me. I mean, it's the whole reason, you know, I made Infernal Covenant, because I call it the next evolutionary step in the left-hand path, because what's out there right now is just people,
corruption.
Yeah, it's just people using the left-hand path as a fucking excuse for self-destructive behavior or just destructive behavior in general. And I'm done with it. I'm done. Like, I'm not going to entertain it anymore. The fact that people can't even fuck. Yeah, exactly. Like the fact that people can't even, like, most people online can't even fucking define the left-hand path for anyone, you know, like in like in a solidified way, you know, it's just, it's like, oh, so it's
full.
It is 100%. And the thing is like people keep talking about it's individualistic, so it changes for each person. It's like, no, the concept of the left-hand path does not change for each individual person. The left-hand path is a fucking philosophy. It's an idea that overlays your belief. That doesn't change. Now, how you practice, that can change, that can differ, but the philosophy is the thing that needs to stay consistent. And the fact that nobody can fucking define this shit anymore because they're too afraid of offending other people. And I've said this a million times, and I will say this again, and I will say this until I'm dead in the ground. If I piss you off, if I offend you, if something I say makes you upset, that is your own fucking fragility. That's not my goddamn problem. Your feelings are not my issue, and I'm not taking responsibility because you don't have any type of emotional regulation. The fact that people heard my short on animal sacrifice and me calling people pieces of shit that practice, you know, animal sacrifice, and they took that as a moral high ground, like that's your moral high ground. That's what you are going to sit there and say is morally apprehensible of me to do is to sit there and say that you're a piece of shit if you practice animal sacrifice, because most of you that practice it don't follow a lineage, don't have a lineage. And as Curtis will say, I'm a quote Curtis, you don't have a fucking license to do it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And the statements that are made by these people, like one of them was, why don't you tell people from the Kimbanda community the same thing and they would eat you alive? Like, no, they wouldn't, because they would have, number one, as actual initiates, they would have the patience to watch an entire video, not just the short.
Yeah.
Number two, they would understand that through the totality of context, what is being stated is you have to know how to do it. You have to have a license to do it. And any Kimbanda house will tell you that until you're licensed, you don't cut.
100%. There's nothing else to it. Yeah. Hirsch, your thoughts.
And what gets me is, because they disagree with you, now they want to call you out and have a curse war. I mean, that's fucking childish, man. It's like, what the fuck? You know? I mean, seriously.
Well, that's
I mean,
what happens
like
when the woman is the fucking knight in shining armor.
Yeah. It's like a fucking ape in a zoo fucking beating the chest, you know, look at me. You know, that ain't how this shit works, man.
Well, here's the other thing.
Curse each other. You know, you're going to curse somebody. You're not going to get up here and go, I'm going to curse you. You don't announce what you do.
Let me throw something else on top of this too. So anyone that knows the channel, anyone that knows me, it was the same thing. I did the same thing with Kermit. I think his name's Kermit, and his woman. I did the same thing with both of them when they commented, you know, that I did with JS. Now, the reason why JS got the response that JS got and they didn't is because JS asked a question. Regardless of whether or not JS's question was, you know, out of a place of like saying like you're full of shit, you know, without saying you're full of shit, JS still asked a question. So I gave JS an answer. The other two came at me aggressively, trying to attack me, telling me to shut up, telling me not to give my opinion. And so I gave them back what they put out there. But even so, with that, I still told them, hey, come on the show and talk about your point. So anyone that knows me, anyone that knows this channel, anyone that knows how I do things, if you disagree with me, come on the show. When you sit there and you say, oh, I'm not going to come on your fucking show and I'm not going to talk to you because I don't respect you, that says so much more about you and your ability to defend your position than it does about me, my friend. Because I'm willing, and I said it to Garrett and I'll say it to everybody, I'm willing to be proven wrong. I don't think I'm going to be, but I'm willing to be proven wrong. I'm willing to have that conversation and have my opinion changed. The fact that you're not says so much about you and so little about me. Because I'm willing to have the conversation. Yeah, it's fear-based. Like I'm sorry, don't think I do not think that I'm wrong in that assumption that the one that's willing to have the conversation and believes that they are able to defend their belief in a civil debate live in front of, right now we've maxed out at 111 views total. So in front of 100 plus people, you know, we got 21 concurrent viewers. I'm willing to have that public conversation, and I do my shit live. I don't do it pre-recorded, and I don't edit my shit. So you guys get it completely unedited, straightforward. So I'm not even editing this shit to make myself look better, right? How it comes out, how it happens, that's how you guys get it. So if I'm wrong about something and if I'm proven wrong about something, guess what? You're going to see that. You're going to see it happen without editing, without change. But when somebody sits there and says, oh, I'm not going to come on your show because I don't respect you, that tells me a lot about the type of person you are and your actual ability to defend your position. It tells me that you can't.
Amen.
It goes back into wanting to be seen, and you're affecting people's pocketbooks. People go to what they feel is going to help them. So they see somebody doing this sacrifices, they see people doing this darker shit on camera, this facade bullshit, they go to them. And once they pay, they never get no results. They never get people messaging them back, "Are you okay?" You know, they don't get any follow-up questions. Can we help you? It's one and done. Bam, I got your money, fuck you. You know, and that's how it should be. As occultists, we should be open to our clients. You know, if we do something for you and it don't work, or there's another blockage, we should be there for you, not with our hands open all the time. "Oh, here's more money, I need more money." Once you pay me, it's my responsibility to make sure you get through to the other side. If it takes me 1 week, 2 weeks, redoing it 4 times, that's my personal responsibility as an occultist. Not having some fear bullshit of going, "Look at me," you know, no bullshit. Be a fucking person and be real to your fucking clients, to this community. Have some ethics and some fucking moral. But that can't be, because as soon as you're that way, there goes your fucking money.
100%. Curtis, what are your thoughts?
I mean, see, here's the thing. I always tell people, I'm a spiritual man. Therefore, I'm not a professional. What you see is what you get, and that's what you're paying for. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to tell you what is. I'm going to tell you what I can do. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to inflate things. I don't have to rely on edge points or clout. All of my work speaks for itself. Most of my clients are return clients. When you become a client of mine, you're usually going to return, because you do get results. Results that aren't overinflated. And you're going to get practical methods and ways to improve yourself. It's not all about getting your wishes granted. That's not what this shit is about. And these people out here wearing these masks, parading around as occult masters and edgelords, they're not real initiates. They're selling you a personality that can't hold up under stress. You know, you prove these people wrong and people can see it. So what do? They simply delete the comments and turn the comments off so they can't be proven wrong anymore. And then they continue running their mouths and protecting their facade and image. A real magician, a real occultist has been through the transmuting fires of hell already. They're already solidified. They're already established. They're already made. They can respond in the moment with logic because they're actually connected to divinity. They just have access to wisdom and knowledge. You can feel that in a practitioner. It doesn't have to be proven through fear tactics and intimidation. The beating of the chest and the get out of here. I'm not impressed. I'm not easy to impress. I'm just not. I'm sorry. None of that impresses me. As a matter of fact, it's an indicator of weakness. You're proving to me that you're weak because it's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. You know, and people were kind of like coming at me talking about being afraid of, you know, for example, like Behemoth X or Garrett or shit like that. And I'm just like, I'm not, you're talking about beating chests here, and this is definitely going to come across as me beating my chest, but like, I'm just being honest. As it stands, as of right now, I have great respect for people like Behemoth and Curtis and their history in the practice and what they've gone through and the trials and tribulations that they've had to endure to come out to where they are now. But, you know, regardless of respect, you know, as it stands right now, I'm not afraid of anybody in the occult community. I'm not afraid of someone trying to curse me. It wouldn't be the first time. It's not going to be the last. I'm just not. I'm not beating my chest. I'm just not scared. You know.
Right. Why would you be? An actual practitioner, you know, isn't going to be concerned with doing that.
Exactly. You know, so it's just, it's just that's the thing. I'm not scared. Like I'm just, and I know that's not an invite for people to try shit, but you know, I know that some people are going to take it that way, and so be it. You know, if you feel like, you know, that is an invite for you to, you know, try to flex your abilities to see whether or not you can curse me, then you know, I'm not going to stop you, you know, but that definitely speaks to your character, I would say, if that's something you feel like you need to do. You know, it's just, I've been in this too long to be afraid of people threatening me with curses and hexes and shit. Like I've been doing this 20 plus years, guys. I'm not a spring chicken. You know, I mean, my mother raised me on this shit. My mom's a witch. You know, my grandmother's Native American. You know, I've got that side of it. You know, that heritage. You know, and I've learned so many things from so many people, and I've always looked at this community as needing to be something where we can learn something from each other, and we're all going to have differing opinions. You know, where we're all going to have a different way that we do things, and that's perfectly fine. And you know, to sit there and think that we need to have other people think the same way that we do about things, you know, or validate, you know, what it is that we're doing. If you need someone else's validation, you really need to examine your own shit, man, because
You're weak.
you're weak. So yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is, right? If you have to, you know, threaten or talk about going to the astral plane for a witch war, I mean, I'm just, it goes down to, like I've said this a million times on the show, and I'll say it one more time. There was somebody we had come on the show. I'm not going to mention their name. There were some things that came out about this person that caused me, like this person was on the show, I think 3-4 times, and it caused me to remove our interviews from my channel. They're no longer present on the channel because I want no association with this individual. But in one of these conversations with this person, he was talking about this ritual that he did with Lucifer, and he was talking about this black hole opening up above his altar, and like, you know, this black hand coming through and grabbing him by the throat, like, and the way he described it, he clarified that it was as, you know, real as the conversation him and I were having. And I legitimately sat there and I told him, I said, I'm sorry. I respect your practice and I respect what you believe you saw. But if you wholeheartedly believe that you saw that as a physical manifestation, as a real physical manifestation, I think you need help. I think you need help. I think you need to talk to somebody, because that's not okay. And, you know, anyone that comes to me and starts throwing that type of shit out there, and I'm not sitting here saying you can't have communications with entities. Of course you can. But they present in ways that are not so direct, you know, dream work and, you know, meditation and just kind of like a sense, like a feeling that you get, you know, they're present, you feel it. And so I feel like this plays into that, right? It plays into, I mean, of course, scrying, any type of divination, you know, but it plays into that idea of like, if you're sitting here talking about a witch war on the astral and you actually believe that that is something that you can legitimately do, I'm sorry, man, but you need help. You need help.
The
And
entire premise of the astral plane is understanding the language of symbols.
mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
You're not
Like,
gonna, like Last Frontier Medium talking about having sex with guardian angels and shit in the astral plane. Fighting like some Charlie's Angels broad on the astral plane. Like, guys, you're misinterpreting spiritual truths through the finite misunderstanding of symbols. And that's the entire premise of the occult. It's learning the language of the subconscious and learning to interpret that and obtain truth. You know, so there's wisdom that needs to be cultivated, and that's a process. You start somewhere, and you go through this process of learning the language, and then when you're capable, you can start bringing forth advanced gnosis. But trying to impress people with these fantastical ideas, it's going to make people stupider. Stop.
The thing is like, so the psychodrama of ritual is an actual thing. Like, so if we go with LeVay and we talk about the psychodrama of what ritual is supposed to do, that's an actual thing, and it doesn't degrade the spiritual experience. It actually enforces it. But here's the thing, here's the boundary, here's the line, at least in my opinion. If you go through the psychodrama of ritual and you have an experience in ritual, you can understand that that's probably something that no one else is going to see, no one else is going to experience, and that's something that was brought forth by the psychodrama that you created in the ritual. But to sit there and not be able to understand the line and the difference between ritual psychodrama and what happens spiritually in ritual with reality and like physical reality is where the problem is. Like, so I've had physical manifestations. I did a ritual. Go to my TikTok. The only pinned video there is showing, my eye bleeding, and it bled for 3 days. That's in the same way after doing my first ritual with Lucifer. Right. And yeah, that's a physical manifestation. And the thing is I went to doctors, I went to medics, because I'm not that type of person. It's like, oh, it's Lucifer trying to talk to me. It's like, no, there's blood coming out of an orifice that shouldn't be coming out of. So I need to go see a fucking doctor. And when 3 different doctors couldn't find anything, any type of damage, any type of tear, anything like that, they're like, nah, your eye's fine, man. That's when I went in, I said, okay, I believe that this is to be a physical manifestation of that ritual work. But not before. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah. And I think all of that plays into what we're talking about, because it's the psychodrama, right? And I think this idea of like needing to kill an animal to make something happen.
See, there's psychodramatic effects that will fuck you up.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta
100%.
know.
100%. 100%. All right. On that note, everyone, thank you all for coming out. You guys are fucking amazing. You're the reason, we do this. To these 2 gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules and days to, spend these 2 hours with me. And to all of you out there, I'm going to be back on in an hour with the gentleman occultist addressing Christian comments from our previous live together. So I'll be back live in 1 hour. I need a break and something to drink. So be ready for that. And then later tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Curtis and Bonnie are going to be on with me and Dyra as the first couple guests on Adversary of My Adversary, talking about what it's like being in a relationship with another occultist. So a lot of fun conversations happening today. Really busy day today, but I'm super excited for all of it. So as always, everyone, kill thy fucking self. See you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.
Peace.